Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tullis. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix Albert Park Greatest Moments. Now, the Australian Grand Prix has been held at Albert Park between 1996 and 2020. Of course, the race is still held there present day. 2020's edition was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, what has been the greatest moments at Albert Park? And what is the circuit? So the circuit itself opened in 1996. It is located in Melbourne, Australia. And the circuit itself has 16 corners. It has 16 turns and a top speed of around 190 miles per hour. A little bit over that come qualifying with a DRS active. And there are 3 DRS zones on the circuit. One going into turn 1, one going into turn 3, and the other going into turn 13. So that's on the current layout as it is. But what is the greatest moments from this circuit? And this circuit has had quite a lot of great moments, actually, for many people. So, the first main moment was when the circuit opened in 1996. Of course, that was the first race held at that circuit, won by Damon Hill at the time in the Williams. Jacques Villeneuve also making his debut in the championship for Williams as well. But the biggest moment of that race was on the first lap when a safety car was deployed following a huge crash for Martin Brundle in the Benetton, running into the back of Johnny Herbert in the Sauber and David Coulthard in the McLaren, all getting involved in quite a scary first lap shunt. Those 3 are actually presenters for both Sky F1 and Channel 4 respectively, were all those presenters. But yeah, they're now on, and sadly though, all those 3 drivers, the British drivers, were involved in that horrific crash on the first lap. I don't know who was at fault for that incident, but yeah, it was quite a huge crash on the opening lap and certainly one of the biggest crashes in Australian Grand Prix history. However, though, I would say 2002 was the biggest one when we had the first lap mayhem down at turn 1. A safety car was indefinitely deployed after the first lap crash, and it all started, of course, on lap 1 with Rubens Barrichello in a Ferrari going over, should I say, the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello was Ralf Schumacher's Williams. Schumacher tried to go down the inside, Barrichello moved right, but Schumacher had nowhere to go and essentially was a passenger. And a huge airborne crash. He went right over the rear wing of the Ferrari at the time of Barrichello. And then basically after that crash caused a chain reaction. Many other drivers got involved, including one of the Renaults or one of the Benettons on fire. It was Jenson Button. Alan McNish, I think in the Jordan, was also involved in that crash as well. Multiple other drivers, 8 cars, or at least 8 cars were involved in that crash. And a safety car was definitely needed to be deployed as well. It was a huge crash. I mean, if you've seen the onboards, just tell me how bad that crash was, because there was a lot of drivers were concertinaing up. 2009, if you've seen the highlights, they're on YouTube at the moment. Brawn GP securing a 1-2 finish and also a 1-2 in qualifying, despite Rubens Barrichello having a dreadful start. Jenson Button led from lights to flag. Rubens Barrichello had a very difficult first lap, dropping down several places after a bad start, but recovered and finished second in the end. But that was only after Robert Kubica and Sebastian Vettel. Of course, Kubica was racing for BMW Sauber. Sebastian Vettel in his second, well, it's not his second season with Red Bull. It was his first year with Red Bull. Red Bull's first year with Vettel and Webber. Sadly, both drivers came to a blow at turn 3. Kubica tried to go around the outside on fresher tyres. Vettel touched with him. Then Kubica went into Vettel. And then basically both cars had damage. Vettel ended up having a damaged front wing. So Kubica then suffering suspension damage in the process of the crash upon the exit turn 5. Safety car deployed. Jenson Button was declared the victor of that race. And also Lewis Hamilton ended up getting disqualified from that race after passing Timo Glock under safety car conditions as well. That was another one that a lot of people forget as well. 2010 was the last big moments at that event or at the circuit. That race saw Jenson Button win after masterclassing a great race and also pitting at the right time for slick tyres as well. Button did go off early in the race. He did have a collision with Fernando Alonso, but basically there was no room into turn 1. Basically, all drivers concertinaed up. And yeah, Jenson Button was lapping much quicker than anyone else after pitting at the right time for slicks. All the rest of the field pitted far too late. And then, of course, we all knew what happened in that race. Sebastian Vettel retired after suffering a brake failure. Yes, his brakes locked up, and that was it. Down at turn 13, he had smoke coming from his rear brakes. That was the end of it. A brake failure for Sebastian Vettel took him out the race. However, though, the other Red Bull of Mark Webber was involved in a collision with Lewis Hamilton. Essentially, the two Red Bulls had a very difficult day. Mark Webber getting penalised for locking up and hitting the back of Lewis Hamilton, outbraking himself into turn 13. And Lewis Hamilton ended up complaining of his tyres, saying that they pitted him too early. Hamilton ended up having issues with tyre wear. And yeah, Webber ended up running into the back. Nico Rosberg got gifted a fantastic position as well. I believe that was something like P5 or P4 or something. So yeah, ended up being a difficult race. And that was, of course, the second race of the season, because Bahrain opened the season up for the 2010 F1 World Championship. But yeah, that was a race to remember. And of course, 2012, Jenson Button again winning for McLaren in Australia. That was thanks to Lewis Hamilton being undercutted by Sebastian Vettel in the safety car period there. As well, and also as well, a couple of years ago, 2014, there was a huge crash down at turn 1. I think Felipe Massa got involved in a crash down at turn 1. There's been multiple shunts down at the first corner and even at turn 3. And also in 2015 as well, down at turn 3, Fernando Alonso going into the back of Esteban Gutierrez. I think that was 2000. It was Haas's first year in the championship, I believe. And I think it might be 2015 or 16, one of the years. But Fernando Alonso running into the back of Esteban Gutierrez. Horrendous crash down at turn 3. Alonso thankfully walking away from that crash unscathed. So, yeah. But essentially it shows you that Formula 1 today is safe. But of course, Albert Park in Melbourne continues to host races. We're hoping that the 2021 race can go ahead. 2021, of course, being the 71st edition of the Formula 1 World Championship, I believe, as well. So yeah, we're hoping to get a race under our belts. first year, 72nd season, I believe, of the championship. And yeah, we're hoping that Formula 1 gets to race at Melbourne next year. It's a great circuit, Albert Park. It's very difficult to drive, but it's a great little track. It's really, really fun to drive. Very difficult to open the circuit up. It looks easy, but it's a difficult circuit, guys. Difficult on the tyres. Difficult to get right. And it's going to be a test come race day next year with Formula 1 heading to that circuit. But thank you so much for listening, guys. That is the Australian Grand Prix greatest moments at Albert Park. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to my videos, and I'll alert you when there's new videos that have been uploaded. Take care. Goodbye.